And a very good morning it is. It is the 19th of July, and it's morning. It's just a little bit before 7. I'm at what's called the Birches, which is a set of two shelters here that are set aside for long distance hikers. Came in here last night. Somebody had set up their tent in one of these shelters. I got in at dusk last night. I mean, I have no cause to complain. I was coming in relatively late, pretty much hours after anyone else had. But I remember coming up to that shelter right behind me, and the people had basically had taken up all the space in the shelter just with their tent, and being put off by that someone would set up a tent inside a shelter. I've only seen that a few times before, and came over to this second one, and another guy had set up his tent in the shelter here. He didn't take the whole thing. I could have squeezed in there, no problem, but I didn't want to disturb him, and so I ended up just spreading out my Tyvek sheet here behind one of the shelters. I kind of walked up and down, thinking I'll set up my tent here, but there's sort of no place to set up a tent other than the tent platform, and somebody else had already set up a tent there, that I wouldn't be a hazard to people if they were getting up and in the middle of the night, tripping over my guy lines and stuff like that. It was going to be a hazard to them. I basically didn't sleep last night. And there was no reason. It was perfectly fine temperature. There were no bugs last night. Once the sun went down, there were no bugs. It's just the anticipation. This is it. This is the last day. It's just the anticipation. There were half a dozen people here in tents, various places and things, but they've all gone now. I have to wait until 7 a.m. For the ranger station to open, which should be here momentarily. So I'll get the last little bit packed up, go get my permit to go hiking up. But yeah, the last day on the AT. Crazy sort of thoughts and emotions and anticipation and everything else. So looking forward to it. Weather report looks like it's going to be good. Maybe not perfect, but good. And if it stays good, what I'm going to try to do is go right over the top of Katahdin, over what's called the Knife's Edge, and then over another sort of sub-peak of Mount Katahdin, and then down another trail to a completely different road trailhead, and then get out of the park and get as far south as I can to catch my flight tomorrow. So I better get cracking here. But I just wanted to record sort of the Birches and yeah, some of my thoughts here this morning. Yeah. Stay tuned. I just want to record a little bit of this trail. The ranger encouraged me to take this alternate trail. I guess it is passable to stay on the regular AT, but there's some a bridge is out or something like that, and so they have this alternate path which is newly cut, and it may not come through very well in the video. I mean, I'll have to see, but a newly cut trail. Wow. So like that, you know, was a little sapling which they have cut off. Here, this is the top of a rock. The dirt and duff hasn't even been eroded off of it, and had another little sapling or a bush which they've cut. So the character of this trail is very different than almost anywhere I've been on the AT, with a newly cut trail. And lots of hazards here. Stuff to trip over that you don't normally trip over. Stuff to slide on, like these rocks that are covered in moss, which after it gets trafficked a bit, I don't even know how to get between those trees. Kind of, if I turn sideways. After it gets trafficked a bit, it all gets worn off. But it's interesting to see this as an example of a newly cut trail that through use has yet to become sort of a more mature trail, more easily followed. This would be very difficult to follow if it weren't for these ties. Yeah, so interesting difference here right at the end, heading up Mount Katahdin. A brand new trail. Wow, this is just like forest duff that I'm walking on. Cool experience. Okay, I'm going to show you this view here, which is fabulous. But first, this is Amy, who I have just met, and I have just given her her trail name, Unsinkable. She has told me about herself, and she is an unsinkable young woman. And wow. But here's what I want to show you. I'm going to flip this around and show you, because we're halfway up Katahdin. Oh, this is just okay, I'm going to flip this around so you can see it, because you don't need me talking about it. So this is what Unsinkable and I are looking at. Oh my word. Look at those. Look at those mountains. And you know, I don't even know exactly where I came from.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to kind of get oriented here. I know yesterday morning I was at Rainbow Lake, and it's one of these long lakes that looked right into Katahdin here. So, wow. Well, let me just record this because I have no idea. It could be clouded in by the time we get up to the top here. So I want to sort of make some video here so you all can enjoy this. You know, Baxter Park is set up to be a wilderness park from its origin. They say here the animals come first. It's rugged, it's rustic. There's no, even at the campgrounds, there's no running water. You know, no flush toilets. It's all pit toilets. It's rustic. But this is what you get from that sort of approach. Just wild, unspoiled, rustic. Wow. Hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Actually, you can't be, because
you're not here.
Being here.
Nothing like it.
Yeah, there's nothing like being there. Oh, the scrambling is harder than I remember it from 9 years ago. I remember just a little bit. This is a lot. But anyway, check this out. Check this out here. I'm gonna zoom in here. I think you could see some of those tiny little figures there climbing up. So the trail goes just like, you know, right there, and then up there. And Thoreau Spring is after we get way up to the top, and then there's another, then the peak will be seen from there. But we got a ways to go. We got to scramble. Okay. Oh, and the clouds. Okay, so we're off the steep ridge portion now in the Alpine. But the clouds, as you can see, are rolling in, and I'm pretty sure, well, we'll see when I get there. But oh, look at that over there, though. Ooh, that area, wow, still have a great view. A little hazy down below, but great view. But right now, can't see the peak. That's the way it goes in these mountains. Okay, onward to the monument. The monument. Coming down, and there's the sign.
Awesome. Congratulations. Well done. Awesome.
That's good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Coming down the mountain. Coming down the mountain. I sort of recovered a little bit. I was planning on going directly over the mountain, over what's called the Knife's Edge. And but that decision was always conditions based, and fog came in. It started raining actually after when I first started coming down the summit. So boy, that was the right decision not to push stuff. And yeah, there was actually a fair amount of wind. I put on the windbreaker. It came up coming down, and still it's interesting because the mind is constantly occupied here with the problems of getting over this boulder and around that one. And how do I get down here? Where's this handhold? Where's this toe hold? Do I jump down here? Yes, I do. But it's also still not resolved all the emotions and stuff. So I'm going to turn this off so I can concentrate a little bit more on these tactical questions.